こんにちは、ゆうこ先生です。This is a sample lesson from my online course, Japanese for T-Form Master Course. Find more information about the course in the description box below. I can hardly answer your questions here on YouTube or social media since I receive so many every day. But I always respond to my students' questions inside my courses. So if you need my help in learning Japanese, please join my course and become my student.Currently, I have 5 online courses from Japanese 1 to Japanese 5. You can get all the 5 courses as a package for a discount too. Go to the package website from the link below. I am planning to publish the next course, Japanese 6, this fall 2020. Once Japanese 6 is released, this package of Japanese 1 to 5 will no longer be available for purchase.So if you want the courses 1 to 5 at the lowest fee, please get the package soon before it's gone. Now that you know T-form, I want to introduce a more practical way to say, No, I didn't, when you respond to a question, Did you? Back in the course Japanese 3, Verbs and Particles,We have learned how to conjugate Japanese verbs in mass form. Regardless of the verb group, to conjugate mass form, all you have to do is to change the ending. When you convert the ending mas to mashita, then it becomes the past tense. When you convert the ending mas to ませんでした, then it becomes the past negative.By the way, in case you don't know, this beginning part of the verb is called stem. You can remember that the stem indicates the meaning, and the ending indicates the tense of the verb in mass form. So for instance, if you want to conjugate the verb eat, 食べます, it's going to be like this in mass form. 食べます。食べません。食べました。食べませんでした。And when somebody asks you a question about the past, as in, Did you eat dinner yesterday? 昨日、晩ご飯を食べましたか? Then you respond either, Yes, I did. はい、食べました。Or, No, I didn't. いいえ、食べませんでした。This is what we have learned back in Japanese 3. And then, as you just learned in the previous lesson in this course, Japanese 4, you express present perfect as in, have you already eaten dinner? Like this. もう晩ご飯を食べましたか? To respond, Yes, I already have. You say, はい、もう食べました。And for no, not yet, you say, いいえ、まだ食べていません。Okay, in this lesson, I want to get back to this question asking about the simple past, did you? And introduce you the way to make your response, no, I didn't, more natural and authentic in spoken Japanese. What I am about to share with you here is not systematized yet as a logical grammar in the language.Japanese linguists are still trying to figure out why the way it has become in modern Japanese, so you may not find what I'm going to talk about here in any Japanese textbook. But it's becoming more and more common in conversation, and even some academic papers are published on this topic. So just take what you learned in this lesson as a tip to make your Japanese sound more natural and authentic in speaking.It's a perfect time for you to dive into this because you now know how to make te forms on your own. Okay, let's begin the lesson. So this is past negative for Japanese verbs as you know, right? It has ませんでした at the end. However, when Japanese people respond No, I didn't. You may often hear this version too. いいえ、食べていません with the te form. This 食べていません here doesn't mean no, not yet, since the question wasn't asking you, have you already eaten? It simply asked you, did you eat, right? So here, this 食べていません means no, I didn't. Let me walk you through how to change the response even more conversational. You have already learned that this い in ています expression is often dropped in spoken language, so let's drop it. And then, this いいえ is often changed to いえ in conversations, since it's shorter and easier to pronounce it that way. So let's use this shorter version in this lesson, okay? Now it's complete. These are two possible ways to answer No, I didn't to a question asking about the simple past, as in 昨日晩ご飯を食べましたか？いえ、食べませんでした。or いえ、食べてません。When you are listening to native speakers talking, I'm pretty sure that you hear both versions. And this version is getting more common when people are talking about matters in their daily life. Why is the case and how are these two different? That's what Japanese linguists are trying to figure out, and today I'm going to share just a few tendencies observed in these two versions. By the way, on the side note, we even have a more conversational version of this てません expression, which replaces the ending ません with ないです like this. いえ、食べてないです。いえ、食べてないです。This one also means no, I didn't in this context. But since it's going to be too much information in one lesson and confusing, here I'm going to stick to the comparison between these two. ませんでした and てません。Okay? Okay, so these are the cases where てません is used for no, I didn't. Case number 1. て form ません is often used for no, I didn't when people are talking about the recent past. Like the question here, which is asking you about yesterday. When the question is about the recent past, people tend to respond with てません for no, I didn't. So you can remember it like this. When someone asks you about earlier today, yesterday, last week, or last month, then you can use てません for no, I didn't. If the person asks you about last year, then you may want to use ませんでした. But then you may wonder, what about 3 months ago or 6 months ago, right? Well, there's no absolute definition as to up to how long ago is the recent past. It can be quite subjective. Native speakers naturally choose てません or ませんでした based on their intuition. So again, this is not an established grammar rule yet. Just keep this in mind, and when you are not sure, you may want to just stick to ませんでした. And this tendency about the recent past does not apply to non-volitional verbs. Non-volitional verbs are such verbs as ある、いる、見える、わかる, which happen without your will or intention. So in the case of ある, exist, for instance, let's say someone asks you if you had a class yesterday. Did you have a class yesterday? 昨日、クラスがありましたか? Then to respond, no, I didn't. In this case, since exist is a non-volitional verb, you simply say, いえ、 ありませんでした。and not いえ、会ってません。Okay, from here, I'm going to show you some situations where てません sounds more natural for no I didn't because they are talking about the recent past. But before that, let me ask you a question. If someone asks you, did you eat dinner yesterday without any context, how do you feel? Don't you kind of wonder why the person is curious whether or not you had dinner the night before, right? We feel the same way if somebody asks us a question like this out of the blue. Therefore, in this kind of situation, it is very common that we respond with が at the end, as in, いえ、食べてませんが。This が is a conjunction meaning but. So this response is an incomplete sentence, meaning, no, I didn't, but why do you ask? The part, why do you ask is hidden and implied after the が. You can also use けど instead of が, which is more common in daily conversations. いえ、食べてませんけど。Today, I'm going to use this version and show you some example conversations from here, okay? Please imagine that two co-workers are chatting in the office. The man asks the woman, 昨日、ケンさんに会いましたか？昨日、ケンさんに会いましたか？ He's asking about yesterday, which is the recent past. So most likely the woman would respond with てません like this. いえ、会ってませんけど。いえ、会ってませんけど。Then he may say something like, そうですか。探してましたよ。そうですか。探してましたよ。And now it's clear in the context why he asked her the question. Another example. Now the woman asks the man. ジョーカーっていう映画を見ましたか？ジョーカーっていう映画を見ましたか？ This っていう part indicates that you are quoting a name of something. It's used in this structure. A noun called name. Name っていう noun. So, ジョーカーっていう映画 means a movie called Joker. This って is the conversational version of the quotation particle と and いう means to say. っていう is a little bit difficult to pronounce when we are speaking at natural speed, so native speakers often replace it with いう and say っていう instead of っていう。So let's use っていう here. One more thing. The direct object marker or is often dropped in the spoken language since in many cases the direct object is quite obvious in the context without the help of the particle. So to make this sentence even more conversational, I'm going to drop it here. ジョーカーっていう映画見ましたか？ジョーカーっていう映画見ましたか？ This is how this question is most likely presented in daily conversation. And at the time that I'm making this lesson in 2020, the movie was released in Japan less than a year ago, and the Blu-ray was released in the same year, 2020. So most likely this man sees it as the recent past and responds like this. いえ、見てませんけど。いえ、見てませんけど。 Then the woman may give a comment like this. ぜひ見てください。すごくいいですよ。ぜひ見てください。すごくいいですよ。So like this, when people are talking about daily matters, in many cases, it's more natural to respond in てません than ませんでした for no I didn't. However, please know that it's not grammatically wrong to say 見ませんでした here, as you learned back in Japanese 3, okay? I'm just sharing the tendency that is observed among native speakers in current Japan. In Japanese classes, we normally introduce ませんでした first for past negative verbs since it's way easier to create than てません. But now that you know て form, you can start using てません to respond no I didn't for the recent past. Okay, now let's take a look at the case when people ask you about the distant past, like your childhood. Then, ませんでした is more appropriate to respond, no I didn't. Here's an example question. 子供の時、外国の映画見ましたか？子供の時、外国の映画見ましたか？ In this case, the man will most likely answer, いえ、見ませんでした。いえ、見ませんでした。since they are talking about his distant past. And a woman may reply with a comment like this. そうですか。私もです。そうですか。私もです。Let's move on to case number 2, where てません sounds more natural for no I didn't. Take a look at this question. The woman is asking the man, Did you go to Okinawa this summer? この夏、沖縄に行きましたか？この夏、沖縄に行きましたか？ We don't know if she's asking about a month ago, 3 months ago, or 6 months ago by saying this summer, okay? Even when the time frame is not clear in the context, there's another aspect that makes people respond in てません for no I didn't. It is when the speaker and the listener do not share the same information about the past. Let me explain what I mean by that. Let's say this man goes on a trip to Okinawa every summer and the woman knows it. Now the summer is over, she asks him the question, この夏、沖縄に行きましたか？ Here it means more like, Did you go to Okinawa this summer again? Or, Did you go to Okinawa this summer as usual? Because they share the same background information that this man always goes to Okinawa in summer. In this case, he would say, いえ、行きませんでした, meaning, no, I didn't. When the speaker and the listener share the past context, ませんでした tends to be used for the negative response. Now, let's say he goes to Okinawa every summer, but he doesn't know that she knows about it. Or he doesn't go to Okinawa every summer. And the woman suddenly asks him, Did you go to Okinawa this summer? Then he would most likely respond, いえ、行ってませんけど。いえ、行ってませんけど。Again, the connotation of no I didn't but why do you ask is implied here. This is case number 2. When the speaker and the listener do not share the past context, てません tends to be used for no I didn't. This is another tendency that Japanese linguists found out when native speakers respond てません instead of ませんでした for no I didn't. Here's a summary of what we have discussed in this lesson. How to respond "No, I didn't" to a question asking you about the past. ませんでした is usually used for the distant past or when the speaker and the listener share the past context. On the other hand, てform ません is used for the recent past or when the speaker and the listener do not share the past context. As I mentioned earlier, this version, てform ないです means the same, but it's more conversational. So you may hear this version a lot when you listen to native speakers talking. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson and find it helpful. I know it was a little too linguistic, so I hope I didn't confuse you. Many times in the past, my students asked me why Japanese people don't use ませんでした all the time when they respond, "No, I didn't." So I wanted to share this information with you since now you are capable of using て form to make てません or てないです expressions. Let me emphasize one more time. These are not absolute grammar rules, but just tendencies observed among native speakers, okay? You may be wondering, well then, what about the case when two people are talking about the recent past and they do share the past context? For instance, one person is asking the other person if he went to a workshop the day before and both of them knew about the workshop. Then, both versions are possible. Some Japanese people will choose ませんでした and the others will choose てません. Again, these are not unified grammar rules in the language yet. To keep it simple, just remember that you can respond in てません or てないです expressions to a question about the recent past. So when people ask you a question about this morning, yesterday, last week, or a few weeks ago, you can try your response in てません or てないです, okay? When you are not sure, you can just use ませんでした. That's fine. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. As I said in the beginning, I'm going to release a new grammar course, Japanese 6, this fall either in October or November. When Japanese 6 gets published, the current package of Japanese 1 to 5 will be no longer available for purchase. So if you want the courses from 1 to 5 with the package discount, please get the package soon before it's gone. ではまた次のレッスンで会いましょう。